Hi, Jimmy Murphy here. You probably have questions about business, don't you? Yeah. Then you've come to the right place, because we have with us today some of the greatest business builders in the history of this industry. I'm going to allow them to introduce themselves.
Hey, I'm Michael Jude.
Nancy Moore.
Tim Smith.
Jenica Chevenet.
All right, so who has a question for this distinguished panel? Anybody? Business question? Yeah, Jay Lee.
So business-wise, what do you think would be the best strategy to intertwine Ditch the Can and LifeForce?
Okay, so I'll repeat the question. What do you think is the best strategy for building LifeForce and Ditch the Can together? So who wants to field that one?
Why are they separate?
I mean, I do. Okay, I'll take a stab at it. Why are they separate? Well, in a sense, they're not separate because they're both network marketing. All right, we've got two different products, two different key demographics, and two comp plans, but it's still just network marketing. It's about distributing goods to the public and building a network of people that also distribute goods. And that's what it's about, in essence. So I don't see them very different at all. I'm continuing the same kind of marketing, the same kind of recruiting and sponsoring that I'm doing anyway, talking to slightly different people. LifeForce products appeal more toward a health-oriented person, and Ditch the Can products appeal more toward an active person, not necessarily health-oriented. Both, I'm talking to people about how to create an income, how to build a distribution network, and how to create a professional income that can last intergeneration. So really the message that I'm bringing hasn't shifted. The products are different, that's fine. And I don't even talk about the compensation, but I'm building the same kind of business. So I don't really necessarily distinguish between them any more than I would distinguish between Be New and Body Balance, or Body Balance and Osteo-Pro Care. You know, they're not different to me. They're all just part of the same. So, I don't know, what do you guys think?
Well, I love that question, Jay Lee, because I think it comes up for all of us. And one of the ways I feel is a key to building our Ditch the Can business and our LifeForce business is to really connect with the person that we're offering the product or the business to. Really connect and ask that person many questions and see what is it that they're looking for. Are they looking for foundational health and extra energy for their sports activities or dance or whatever else, keeping up with their children? What are they looking for? And if they're looking for what sounds to me like both of the businesses, then I would probably introduce them to both of the businesses. And just because of my philosophy, I would introduce them more than likely to Body Balance first, just to get that foundational nutrition, and then add into it the Ditch the Can and the immediate energy.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, great. Any other questions? Who else? Yes, Lori.
How do you, in this industry, when it's kind of like a roller coaster ride, people come in, they go out, you get really feeling like you have a great person that's on board that's going to just go, and then things change. Like, how do you deal with that and just keep going? What would you give us as a tip?
I'll jump in on that one. The decisions that people make, they make for their own reasons. And if it's not something that they want right now, just let them go.
Yeah, I liken it to a team. So we have a team of people we work with. Some are active at certain times, some are more active at other times. They're all part of the team. Some actually come and go. But it's sort of like, you've heard, see the forest for the trees. right? And so I think all networkers at some point begin to see the team as opposed to just people. I mean, everybody's individual on the team. And have a lot of room for people to come and go. It's like that. Now, a healthy business, and by healthy I mean one that can sustain itself over years and decades, is going to have multiple legs. So when we first started networking, we had one leg, and we thought that was the world. But the challenge with that, like a service business, is if that customer goes, then the whole thing collapses, then we become very dependent upon one person. That's not healthy in this industry. I'd rather have 50 or 100 people on my front line, and if one leaves, it doesn't affect my income. So I think we're constantly bringing new people in, and then people die, move on, whatever, and they're coming and going. Does that kind of get to the heart of what you're asking?
Yeah, I just kind of wanted to get each person's perception on that, because it really helps during those times.
I would just add that it's very easy to get so attached to each person's vision and goals and start feeling responsible for that. And I find that often when I'm in that space, I've fallen into management mode. I'm actually working more on helping them do something, and I'm actually more engaged as a manager than actively doing it myself and working with the team. And there's a lot more action, there's a lot more going on. And then even if somebody's been building, there's a whole team they've created. So even if they're gone, half the time they're not actually even gone. It's more, I heard what you were saying talking about the team, but just noticing, like, actually when I get tunnel focused, I've stopped working. And I've fallen into trying to push other people to do things instead of creating it together. That would be.
Well, and I agree too when I'm tunnel focused, and so when there are more people that I'm working with, it always creates a little feeling like a vacuum or a hole or whatever when someone that I love learns and grows and goes, or whatever reason they're gone. But working with more people so that my focus is on the people who want this, want what's being offered to them. I think that's just the most important place. And also working within myself so that when someone goes, being able to just, take a deep breath. What Tim said, just might not be, this is not the fit for them right now. Leave the door open and keep on going. Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you very much.
Yeah. Oh, I just wanted to add one thing, is that if there's someone who's built a group and they might step out, it actually requires a lot more leadership to step in and bridge that gap and make the connection. Because usually there's other people in the organization that they're there because they are committed and they want to make something happen, and they're looking for someone to partner with. And they might be feeling stranded and lost. So that thing of actually it can create a lot more activity because there's all of a sudden you've acquired a whole bunch more people that you're responsible for.
So you're going down into their downline and looking for sprouts.
Or people looking for help.
Yeah.
One thing I would add too is if you're, I don't know if I quite know how to say it, but you want to be curious about why they're doing what they're doing, but you don't want to take it personally. Like, you can learn. I mean, we all grow from how we relate with other people, but ultimately people do what they do for their own reason.
That's great. I think, Cindy, you have a question?
Sure. So you were all star diamonds, and in your experience, the diamonds that you have, if you can reflect back to when they first came in, looking back, do you see that they had a quality that you recognized early on that this person is a diamond? And if so, what was that quality? And if not, like, I would then assume that maybe you were surprised by who your diamonds became, or who they, you know, who became a diamond in your group. So I'm curious about recognizing leadership at an early stage and what that looked like in your experiences.
Yeah, well, I can certainly answer that and say the one key quality that stands out. The question was, how do we recognize diamonds, and are we surprised when they arise in our teams? And I'd say probably not very surprised, because for me it's pretty obvious. Now I want to say this, there's a lot of people that exhibit this trait that don't become diamonds, but almost all the diamonds have this trait. And that is that they're independent, meaning they don't require a lot. And this is an interesting lesson I had to learn. So the people that go diamond often do it, I use the term loosely, in spite of us. In other words, it's not what we do that helps them become diamonds. They're going diamond no matter what we do. They're doing it for them, and they do it. And we can help them and we can support them, but I don't think that I can cause them or create them to do it. They have to have the motivation and the drive. And it takes drive. And that becomes pretty obvious pretty quickly, because they come in, they start putting people in. And then they put more people in, and they put more, and they do it. One of the highest compliments, I think, in a certain way, that we got paid, we have a team that probably at one point maybe had 50, 60 diamonds in it. And the top leader, Crown Diamond, said, you know what, I want to just acknowledge you guys. You're the best upline I've ever had. This person had been in the industry a long time, several companies, very successful. He said, because you just stay out of my way. He said, you don't, bug me, you don't call me, you don't, try to get me to do stuff. You just stay out of the way. And a lot of uplines, they're too busybody. They're in and they're trying to make it. He said, you guys just let it happen. Now that's an interesting comment, and it's a different perspective than what we might think it takes to create diamonds. Because the thought is, well, if I help them and I do more for them and I do this and that'll foster the growth. But that's almost like having a garden and obsessively weeding and pulling it up to see how it's growing and then trying to put it back in and overwatering and over-fertilizing, and the poor thing won't grow. It needs a certain amount of wild energy. And so we can have the basics there. We have the fertile ground, we have the sun, we have a certain amount of moisture, but the plant's got to grow. We can't grow trophy plants through our effort. We can prepare and we can nurture to an extent, but that plant's got to have it. And so I don't think there's accidental diamonds. We might have some accidental platinums maybe, but we don't have accidental diamonds. They've got to have the guts, and they've got to have the drive, and they've got to be willing to do it, and then they've got to go do it. So in a sense, when I got that, it made our job so much easier, because that means I'm not responsible for your diamondhood. All I got to do is give you the opportunity. And yeah, maybe there's some training, and that's helpful, but that doesn't create diamonds. And maybe there's some support, and yeah, that's helpful, but that doesn't create the diamond. That diamond creates itself. I could do stupid things to stop it from happening, but I can't do too many smart things to make it happen. I can do this. There's an easy place in there where I'm not responsible and I'm in service and I'm supportive, but you know what? That diamond's got to do it. And it's easy to spot pretty quickly because they start putting people in and they start popping silvers and it happens. So I don't know if that's true for everybody, but I think it's pretty true.
I would agree. Stay out of the way.
So, were you finished?
Yeah, I'm finished.
I love your short.
Then a few words.
And I think there's a place for staying out of the way, and there's a place for really creating community, so that diamond always, or that emerging diamond always knows that they're part of a community, and that they're bringing people into a community. And yeah, what I've seen with my diamonds is that they authentically care about other people. They authentically care about themselves. I don't know exactly how to word that, but they have a confidence within themselves. And a big place is that they're not really swayed so much by what other people think. It's like they have a sailboat and they've got their sails up. They're not just letting the ocean knock them around. They've got their sails up, and they know where they're going, and they're going to slice through whatever the weather is. And to be a diamond, there's a lot of different weathers. So I think it's that confidence, that love, that trueness to self that I recognize.
Not a lot of complainers are diamonds. If someone is always looking at the bad side of things, it's hard to create the good.
The only other things I'd add is sometimes I've seen that sometimes they might be the really stubborn ones at the beginning. So not necessarily the person who jumps in right off the boat, can take some real like testing the waters and checking it out to make sure this is really something that's legit. So I've seen that that sometimes that aren't necessarily the first to join, but they're strong once they're in. And then I just loved what Nancy said of, if someone's running with it, then if we can support by creating an environment at which all the people can come into and be supported and fed, and then just being a person to just, when things are rough, just to listen. And say it's about doing anything, but just being there to listen, so that it can keep going. Those would be the only things in terms of supporting. But I appreciate your wisdom.
Yeah, it's a great analogy, and it's a great question because it says, what's our job then? And I could almost say it's a couple of things. One is to make introductions. It's to invite people in. We don't invite them in, they don't know what's up. But then we have to say what we're inviting them into and create the garden. I mean, if you use that analogy of a garden and a plant, it's not my responsibility to grow that corn plant. Some of them are king corns and some are, wilted. My job is to create the garden, to fence it off and to till it and make sure it's generally weed-free and watered. But that plant's job is to be a big plant or a little plant. So our job, in a sense, is to create the community and keep the boundaries healthy and keep it nurtured. But each individual is going to have to have it happen or not. And in a general sense, we make it all happen. But it's an interesting story. Some of the very best leaders, the top leaders, the ones who go to Crown Diamond and 3-star, are ones that we've recruited, we sponsored, and then we've left. Literally, physically left. So we sign them up, and then within a month or 2 or 3, we're gone because we travel a lot. Sometimes for 3-6 months. And they're on their own. And I'm not saying that's a great strategy. I'm saying, but we have several top leaders that's exactly the strategy that's worked. And, is that a good strategy or not? I don't know. But I think there's something in that they had to do it. And they did it. And they did it for them. So maybe it stretches the thinking a little, because my thought was, well, I've just got to nurture everybody all the way. And one of the problems with that is if I get too obsessed with this plant, everybody else is walking by. The other big, genetically big corn plants are all just walking by if they walk. And I'm working on this, hoping and, just putting all my attention here, and I'm neglecting all the rest of it. That's a trap too. So there's some kind of balance there.
And I love that, and I also am thinking back to my diamonds and to those I see as being diamonds soon. They're hard workers. They are not afraid of work, and they realize that this is a real business, and they're growing it for a reason, and they know their reason, and they're also people who create relationships, strong relationships. So, yeah, I was just thinking about that.
Yeah, and this is a great question.
Yeah.
There's another thing that you said that triggers. They've all had a need.
Yeah.
They've all had a need to make success happen. Usually for the money, which is how we needed the money. That's why we got going. We've had people come in who've made it. You know, they're already kind of cushy financially, and they don't seem to have the need to make it, and they often, I don't know, maybe they just weren't meant to make it, but there's something about that need to succeed. It's not always money. It could be, you know, esteem. It could be make a difference, but there's something driving them. It's not just a nice thing to do. Oh, I'll do it because it's nice. They're doing it because they need to do it on some level for some reason.
And I just thought of something else. I'm sorry. Did you
You're-
guys want to
you're
say
full of
something?
wisdom.
I just thought of something else, and that's loyalty. Loyalty is really important. That a person have that deep loyalty. This is, you know, they're not pulled across the street to greener pastures by everything else that comes by it. There's a loyalty to themselves, to their commitment, to the people that they've introduced and invited, and to their team. Yeah, that's a big part
It's a
too.
huge one.
It's huge.
It's a huge one. One of my early mentors shared something along this line. He said, you know, it's like a marriage. If you're going to get, you know, married, divorce, married, divorce, married, divorce, you'll never experience the fullness of a long-term relationship. He said, pick a company. They all have good plans. They all have good products, or they wouldn't be in business. Pick a company and marry it and stick with it. Because the people who make the big success in this industry, they don't make it overnight. They make it after 5 years, 10 years, you know, or more. So you gotta get the depth and build it long term. And that's where the richness comes. The richness in relationships, the richness in the check, the community, the success. So I think there's a lot to that loyalty piece.
There's also a quality of, I want to use the word introspection. Like, if you're going to be successful, you have to know who you are and make some choices about that. Like, choose to be successful, for example.
Not afraid to look in the mirror.
Right. Don't be afraid to look in the mirror. I mean, actually, really love looking in the mirror.
Good. Any other questions? Another question?
If you had it to do over again, what would you do differently?
I'd start sooner.
I'm sorry, you want to say what the question was?
Oh, if I had to do it over again, or if we had to do it over again, what would we do differently? It reminds me of a Chinese proverb, which is the best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago. The second best time is right now.
Nice.
Nice, very nice.
How appropriate, right? Yeah, it's perfect.
Love that. That's a great question. If I had to do it over again, what would I do differently? If I was able to do it over again, what would I do differently? I wouldn't have taken momentum and energy for granted. Like there's multiple times I've created it's a lot of work to really get that, you know, car running down the hill. And once it's running, it just seems like it's just gonna keep running forever. And so there are multiple times where we get it really running. And then we'd go to Mexico. Or go move or go do something else. And not really acknowledging the value of that, especially at the beginning, that initial energy and excitement and everything that comes in. It's a creative, powerful force that gets things moving. And so just being able to like go with it and take it as far as it'll go. Which, I mean, goes back into like, okay, self-doubt, self-questioning, there's all those things that come up about capabilities of doing that. But I think that's the main thing of that. And then, I mean, of course, the general answer, which I agree with, is spend more time with the people who are in action, really spend more time in action. Try to have that 80% of my time being talking to people's people, following up with people's people, not sitting there and training about how to do things. There's so many hours that really created slowness instead of created results. So to actually just be in the game, those are probably that, and then and calling on my support system. I think I was really determined to be able to figure it out and do it, and not asking for help anytime I get stuck, so I just break through and keep going and keep going and keep going and letting things get in the way. Those would be.
Don't be afraid to bug your upline.
That is an important one. I think I would recognize sooner when I was off track and ask for help, rather than thinking, oh, I can get myself back on track. Recognize sooner that I'm off, ask for help sooner. Distractions. Create my environment in a way that I have fewer distractions. And the other thing is, I would I would keep in touch through social media with all of the people who have come and experienced my team and then moved on for whatever reason. I would keep in touch with those people so that keep them updated now and then, let them know what we're doing to stay in touch.
I think everything that's been said is absolutely true. There's something about escape velocity. When a rocket takes off from the Earth, it has to break free of the atmosphere, and then it can kind of go forever, sort of, with very little energy. But getting free, if it even go 50, 80% and stop, it'll drop back to Earth. So there is something about escape velocity, and don't quit till you get to that place, because then the freedom opens up. And that said, I think if I had to start earlier, or again, is find a mentor, and it doesn't have to be the upline, but find somebody who's where I want to be, and then take their coaching dead serious. If they say jump, say absolutely, where do you want me to land? How high do you want me to jump? Don't negotiate and argue. If they're where I want to be, I think Tony Robbins said it and made probably a big career out of it, is find somebody who already knows it and learn from them. Why go through all the dumb mistakes again and again and again? And some of my early mentors were Jim Rohn and people that I met on CDs and books. I don't have to know them, they don't have to be my upline. But some of these people have the wisdom, 20, 40 years of distilled wisdom. Man, let's study that stuff, and I still do. But get that wisdom and then apply it. And that's to go fast. And that I think is probably the biggest one. So, and it can be it can be the upline, but it doesn't have to be the immediate upline. It could just be, coming to these events, there's so much here. And I also agree, don't make a career of just coming to the events, because that's a great distraction. You won't get momentum, escape velocity by training, being at trainings. It's important, but that's not the go. The go is hard work. And there is something valuable about massive action in the beginning. Massive action in the beginning. I see people come and I'm not saying this is right or wrong in judging it, but poking around with it a little bit and wondering why they don't get the results. It's like, because you're not getting enough momentum going. You get 1 or 2 people in and hope something happens. Well, it might. But if you get 20 or 30 people in and you're displaying that behavior, some of them pick up on it and they do that, and then you can get some momentum going. So it's about massive action to get the escape velocity. Because it's very hard to build this slow. I just watch people struggle and struggle and struggle. And I watch other people come in and they go into massive action and it builds big and they get a good ride. So there's something there.
Good question.
Excellent. Yes, Jay Lee, another question.
So how do you deal with, the initial excitement and momentum that, I portrayed, and maybe this relates to other people, massive action, massive momentum, and then, your team disintegrates,
Yeah.
and you're still here, and you're, still working
Right.
on it. I mean, what's the psychology?
So the question, I think, is along the lines of how do you deal with massive momentum, growth, and then it pulls back? And then, like that?
Yeah.
Yeah. So how do you deal with, like, it's summer, right? Everything's growing, and then winter hits. Are you going to die? Or are you going to kind of bank the coals and go back at it again in spring? If there are some blessed people who build it once and it lasts a lifetime. And of course, the industry promotes this, and it's not a myth, it's true, but they build it right and it lasts a lifetime because they've been through many winters and they know how to put away food for the winter and bank the firewood and all that stuff that analogy would provide. But for most of us in the early days, if you're young and you don't have somebody taking care of you and you got to make it through a winter, it could be pretty tough. You could actually die. So there is something about playing the long game. And does it really matter if you're in this for 20 years, 40 years, the rest of your life? Does it matter that somebody comes and goes? Well, from that perspective, it matters, but it doesn't matter tremendously. So I think it's a matter of perspective. Some of you may have heard a story early on. We did massive action. We had a big group, and we had one leg, which is especially powerful, and there were, I think, 4 crown diamonds in that leg, and our sponsor was a crown diamond. And we woke up one morning, and the phone rang, and it was a call, and it said, oh yeah, that leg with those 4 crowns, they're all gone, and your sponsor's gone, and the general manager of the company's gone with them, and they've all gone to another deal. That was cold winter. That was dead January chill. We could have quit. There was probably a lot of temptation to just do whatever devastation. But you know what? We didn't. And since then we've probably made, I don't know, $5-10 million since then. Because we kept going. We had to dig inside and say, well, we're in it for life. I mean, this isn't just, okay, so that happened. Great. What do? Let's get on the phone. Let's build. And of course, there was a little bit more of an emotional roller coaster. But what was the alternative? Go get a job? I wasn't going to do that. Done that. There's no candy down that alley. So, we've got to get, I think what happens in those moments of betrayal, that felt like betrayal, and they were just making choices, but, I mean, it's pretty, you can see how that could feel like betrayal when the manager of the company and your upline take your people, go. It's a matter of perspective. It's like, yeah, okay, well, we also have other people, like Christine and Manfred are in the room at Pilar, who are other lines, and they're not going anywhere, so great. Here it is. We can look at the glasses, not half empty, 3/4 empty. Or, hey, look at these great people we still have. What happens when we have a loss in life, when somebody dies? Well, we could die, or we can say, well, life's for the living. And on we go. And it's painful, and it hurts, and there's disappointment. So this is not a game for sissies at the top, at a big level. No, I'm not saying it's a tough game like we have to be tough people, but I don't think anybody makes millions of dollars probably anywhere in the world unless they're willing to engage at a different level than most people engage. It's a great vehicle, and it's open, and it's accessible, and there's more success available here for more people than any other place. And people who make the money, you know what? They've earned it. They've earned it emotionally, and they've earned it work-wise, and they've earned it community. I mean, there's a lot of initiation that goes on to become that person. But that person is who I want to be. Because that person stands in the world like a colossus. So it's about choices. What do we choose? I remember in high school I had a crush on a girl, and of course she ended up with the star of the football team, which I was before he took my position, so double loser, right?
Hashtag loser.
Now we're double crown diamonds, so it's all worked out. And I don't know, maybe he's pumping gas somewhere. The point is that I could have made a choice, never love again. I was betrayed in love. I could have never loved again, but then I wouldn't have a beautiful relationship with my wife for 20 years. What would have been the cost of that bad choice? So it's all choice. Can we choose when it's going good to actually be in the good side too? I mean, yeah, when it goes all to garbage, we got to choose to be strong, but when it's going good, can we choose to be profound in the goodness too? Or can we choose make bad choices there, like to get arrogant and stupid and, you know, yeah, I'm better than you because I got a whatever. See, so these are parts of the pieces of the puzzle that is the beauty of this industry. Is it's an intense initiation to what it is to be human, profoundly human. So it is the hard part about when it's bad, but it's also the hard part about when it's really good. Can I stay human? Can I just meet you as a person, not like, you know, some big dog or something? You know what I'm saying? It's good. And it's good. What do you guys got?
I would add just choosing to be resilient, to be flexible. And a question would be, why are you in it? Why are you here? Why are you, I mean, if you build a big group and that group goes somewhere else or does something else, does that change you? Right? It's like, why are you here? Why do you want it? Because if you want it, then you'll do it. If you don't want it, you won't. Short and sweet.
I so agree with that too. I think it's about it. Do you want it? Do you how badly do you want it? Can you see how your life will be different when you have it? And if you see that and you know that, that will give you, and I'm saying that has given me the next step. And when it happens, when someone you care about leaves, or lots of people you care about leave, it's maybe not big steps to get back in the game right away. Maybe not just jumping back in the game right away. Maybe it's stepping back and saying, okay, do I really want this? How do I see myself when I have it? And then nourishing yourself, and maybe doing some more, looking in the mirror, doing personal growth. But it's those little tiny steps again, little tiny until they can be big. Yeah, everything. Boy, that you said, Michael.
Is that it?
Oh, I want to hear what Jenica says.
I was going to say, I just keep finding that I just can't go away. I was going to say probably like you, there's something about it that's just got me.
have much to say on that.
It's actually perfect.
That is so perfect.